Before he screamed those three iconic words, before he raised the Larry O'Brien Trophy in Boston Green, Kevin Garnett spent 12 long years in NBA purgatory. He was the most intense competitor of his generation, maybe of all time. But for over a decade, his fire only brought him pain. This is the story of Kevin Garnett's rise, his relentless obsession, his frustration, and the moment it all finally paid off.
The Minnesota Timberwolves select Kevin Garnett.
In 1995, the Minnesota Timberwolves took Kevin Garnett with the 5th pick in the draft, making him the 4th player in history to make the leap straight from high school to the NBA. He didn't take long to make an impact. By year 2, he was an all-star. By year 3, he was the franchise. And in 1997, Minnesota gave him the richest contract in American sports, 6 years, $126 million. Over the next few years, Garnett became a basketball Swiss Army knife, putting up MVP numbers, playing elite defense, and doing everything short of selling tickets. But Minnesota? They gave him nothing. From 1997 to 2003, Garnett made the playoffs 7 straight years, and lost in the first round every single time. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because the team around him wasn't. Still, he stayed loyal. He believed in the Timberwolves, and in 2004, it finally looked like everything would change. That season, Garnett was at the absolute peak of his powers. And he had help, with sharpshooting Sam Cassell and 4-time All-Star Latrell Sprewell playing alongside him. The Wolves finished with the best record in the West. Garnett averaged 24 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 1.5 steals. He was the league's MVP, and arguably the best two-way player on the planet. He dragged Minnesota past Denver, then eviscerated Sacramento in Game 7 with a monstrous 32 points and 21 rebounds. The Wolves were in the Western Conference Finals for the first time ever. But just when the door cracked open, fate slammed it shut. Cassell got injured, and despite Garnett's brilliance, the Lakers would advance in 6. That was it, the closest he'd ever get in Minnesota. The dream unraveled overnight. Sprewell walked away from a $21 million deal, famously stating that he, quote, has a family to feed. Cassell declined, and Minnesota, once again, had no answers. Garnett was back to dragging subpar rosters into battle, and this time, he wasn't winning. He missed the playoffs in 2005, then again in 2006. He stopped speaking to Wolves ownership, as well as to their GM Kevin McHale. Still, he wouldn't ask for a trade.
What's driving you? You play hard, you always play hard.
I'm losing. I'm losing. I'm losing. I came out the womb, man. That's how I am. I'm built like this.
He was giving everything, still putting up elite numbers, still making all defensive teams, but the passion was starting to look more like pain. By 2007, the writing was on the wall. 12 seasons, 1 MVP, 0 finals appearances. It had to end. Kevin Garnett, maybe the most loyal superstar the league had ever seen, had to leave. But he wouldn't ask out. So Kevin McHale stepped in. And in the biggest trade for one man in NBA history, 7 players went to Minnesota, Garnett was sent to Boston, and one final chance at winning went to Garnett. Boston already had Paul Pierce. Earlier that same summer, they had added Ray Allen, one of the greatest shooters of all time. And from day one, the Celtics clicked. Not just because of talent, but because Kevin Garnett's hunger infected the entire locker room. He only cared about one thing: winning. And the Celtics didn't just win games, they suffocated their opponents. Boston finished with the best record in the NBA that year, 66 wins. Garnett was named Defensive Player of the Year. KG had turned Boston into a fortress, but the playoffs would test them like nothing before had. In round 1 against the Atlanta Hawks, Boston jumped out 2-0, but Joe Johnson and Josh Smith pushed them to 7. In Game 7, Garnett would drop 18 points, 11 rebounds, and set the tone early, Celtics win 99-65. Message sent. Round 2 against the LeBron-led Cavs was another 7-game slugfest. Game 7 was a legendary duel between Pierce and LeBron, but this time KG wasn't the one stymied by lackluster teammates. Celtics win 97-92. Embattled, coming off 2 strenuous 7-game series, Boston now found themselves facing a team entering their 5th consecutive Eastern Conference Finals in the Detroit Pistons. Boston lost Game 2 at home, but Garnett went to work. Game 3 in Detroit, 22 points, 13 rebounds. Game 5, 33 points, including big buckets down the stretch. Celtics win in 6. For the first time in his 13-year career, Garnett was going to the NBA Finals. 2008 Finals. Celtics vs. Lakers, KG vs. Kobe. Game 1, Garnett drops 24 and 13, Boston wins by 10. Game 2 is a tight game. KG struggles with his shot but dominates the glass. Celtics go up 2-0. In Game 3, the Lakers would claw back. Boston loses 87-81. Game 4 was the turning point. Down 24 points on the road, the Celtics would mount the greatest comeback in finals history. KG hits key jumpers in the 4th. Final score 97-91. Celtics up 3-1. In Game 5, Kobe would respond, and the Celtics fall by 6. The series would head back to Boston. June 17th, 2008. Game 6 in Boston. The Celtics were ready for war, and Garnett was foaming at the mouth. He finished with 26 points, 14 rebounds, 3 steals, dominating every inch of the court. Boston blew the doors off the Lakers, 131-92. The crowd chanted, the buzzer sounded, and Kevin Garnett had finally reached the mountaintop. 12 years of heartbreak. 12 years of sweat, screams, betrayals, and belief. And finally, Kevin Garnett had his moment.
Man, I'm so hyped right now. Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
For most players, that's just a celebration. For Garnett, it was a release. Kevin Garnett gave everything to the game, and for one shining moment, the game gave it back.